I hope I didn't say anything offensive.
Oh my god, the way I cried because I was like, rah, that's beautiful. Welcome everyone. We are going to talk about Sinners because we've all just watched it and it's such a sick film. It is literally a classic for so many reasons. And we're going to dissect it as much as possible and actually looking at the lens of baby loss because it's something that happened in the movie. It was depicted in such an incredible way, the way they honoured their baby, and no one's talking about it. Like, yeah. Throughout the whole movie, what resonated most for you?
My thing for me was the whole thing around the baby. And just that whole scene of seeing the whole spiritual element to it. The fact when he went to go visit Annie and then obviously connecting with Annie. And it looked like they probably weren't close to each other as in a physical relationship, but because of the baby, they felt that there was a strong connection which will always be there. So for me, I was just like watching that and going, oh my gosh, like I couldn't believe that they actually highlighted that, but at the same time I was really grateful to actually see that was in the movie. And for me that was just amazing to see.
Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah. I agree as well. Like the baby, as soon as that happened, for me it was like I could not believe. I'm seeing an actual representation. Like there's a handprint of a baby. There's the milk, and he's coming in and saying, "Papa is here." What do you mean that they're being vocal about this in a way that society nowadays doesn't even allow us to do? And a key thing about Smoke as well is the fact that he's quite skeptical about this stuff. Like one of the things he says is like, I've been all around the world, I've not seen no ghosts, I've not seen no this, no that. But he still believes that there is a spirit of his daughter still exists, for him to still greet her. You know, for him it's not a sort of thing where you just let go and move on. Just because she isn't here in this physical world doesn't mean that she doesn't matter and didn't exist. She exists, and he respected his daughter. Like, not to say that people who don't do that don't respect their children, that's not the point. I'm just saying that he was unafraid and unapologetic to love her out loud.
Yeah. And the way he said Papa's here, he didn't say was here. He said Papa's here. I think that was key for me. Like, most times we're always talking about, oh, we don't really refer to like a child who has died like as in, oh yeah, Miracle was here or Milo was here. But the way he said Papa's here, I think that was really key for me. Like he's been there and he's always been there and tending to his daughter, honouring her, she's not just a memory. I think that for me was so big. Like he's still fathering her. He's still her father. That for me was just incredible. Yeah,
the idea of keeping her present. And the fact that Ryan Coogler thought that it was important to show that speaks volumes, because it could have been just a passing conversation, you know? You see how when he first meets Annie and she's there doing her herbs and stuff, and then he goes, yeah, this is all protective and stuff, but how comes it couldn't save our baby? That could have just been the scene and that could have been done and dusted. But no, he felt that it was an important point to show us that that baby does exist and existed in a physical realm for a certain time, but continues to exist in the spiritual realm. Like, for me, my mom, when I saw that, I was like, what?
And the fact that he asked that question just makes it even more real. Like, that's human. Like every even if you could be religious, you can be from any type of whatever, but we're all human beings. We're all gonna question something, or like, especially if you've lost your child. How can you not? So him saying that was just so realistic and just human.
Yeah,
that for me was, yeah.
And the fact that she had the baby outside of her house. I mean, I believe like back in the day, they would bury their families members outside their house. But the fact that the baby was there, and then, you know, it's just honouring that child. Like that child's always going to be there, and he will always have to come back there.
Yeah.
That was another thing.
Yeah.
It's like he will have to come back there. And that's something they shared together. You know, they probably lived together in that house before. We don't know that. But it was the fact that they came, he's come back and you know, the baby's there, and how she still loves and protects him as well. That element as well, like everything that she's doing for him, how she supported him, and, you know, the protection amulet that he was wearing.
Yeah.
Those little things, you know, it's just keeping that bond as well, which I just found fascinating.
That's such a good point to make. It's almost like, because obviously he said again, like, he's been around the world, whatever, and he's come back from Chicago, but he had to come back there to see his baby. Like, that is the pull. There's always going to be that pull. No matter where he goes, he will still have to come back and, you know, pay his respects and have a moment with his baby. But also the milk, right? Yeah. The milk that was there, it looked fresh. Like, I don't think she's just going to leave the milk there and that's it. And that's part of what hoodoo is, right? Like, you're supposed to do offerings for your ancestors, for your loved ones. And so that's another way for her to continue to parent her child, is constantly each day having a new, fresh glass or bottle of milk there. That is such like a lovely little ritual.
That's what I was thinking. Like, did she do it daily? Did she do it weekly? Like, and in the handprint of the baby on is it the stone or pebble? Like, when, like, how did they come up with that, or how did they do that, or what was pregnancy even like for Annie? That's my thing. I went all the way back. Do you know? It made me think of like going all the way back. Like, what was her pregnancy like? Did their child like die during pregnancy or labor, or, you know, afterwards during birth? Like, how was like where did she give birth? Did she give birth in that same house, in their house? Of course, back in those days, I don't think they had hospitals, right?
Probably. Well, I don't know.
I doubt it. They might have just.
She might be at home.
Baby at home,
or someone's house, but most likely at home.
Yeah, because from my research, it's obviously the women that were like midwife, they would deliver, or maybe did smoke deliver the baby. Who knows? Like, how was that for her? Like, giving birth at home, like, because obviously she's like rooted in her root work and her spirituality. Like, what does she do? Like, I just wanted to know, like, how was giving birth for her? How was pregnancy for her, including her background? And especially when the baby transitioned and passed away, what happened after that? Like, I'm sure there was no bereavement care there then, but what do they do? Like, because usually, I think in Mexico, when someone passes away, they spend time with the person's body at home for like, I think it's 7 or 10 days, I'm not sure. And they do like rituals, they pray, they sing, family come over and see. So did they do that with the baby as well? Before, like, how was the burial as well? Like, I don't know how to call it burial, but send off. Like, how do they do that? Like, yeah, I just wanted to know, like, everything before.
I remember we were having a conversation where I kind of feel like the baby was probably stillborn, just because, I mean, I might be wrong. The baby could have lived a couple of days. She could have lived a couple of days or even weeks. But I thought she was stillborn because there was no other indicator, like, in the house where there's like outfits or, you know, something more to give that there was a longer life in the physical world. But what you're saying in terms of like what happened after, because they are, you know, she's a hoodoo practicing woman, I'm certain they do have practices that they would have definitely done for their baby. The fact that there's even a handprint just shows that they've thought enough to make this handprint. Like, when people give birth, they don't usually do handprints of their children anyway, right? Why would you really need to? But if you know that your baby is going or has gone, you have to. So that's why I even think it would have been stillborn, or, you know, babies probably passed just after, because you have to do that just to mark the fact that they were here.
Yeah, but I'm just thinking, like, back in those days, I didn't expect to see that.
No, exactly. Because she's a hoodoo practicing person.
Yeah.
That's part of. She would have known to do that. Just like in the whole movie, she had all this catalogue of information of what to do specifically spiritually because of her practices. But for people who are not practicing hoodoo people, probably wouldn't have done that, probably wouldn't have known what to do.
I think she probably would have had to do a lot of stuff herself, because it looks like when you, especially in that era, what it looks like is there's not a lot of people that believe in the hoodoo practices. And she probably had to do a lot of the stuff on her own.
Yes.
So her own rituals, her own everything. Because if you look at the scene, she's on her own. She's like in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's like, it's that whole thing between like the spiritual sides and obviously the Christianity sides. And people obviously with the spiritual side, it's more about, you know, what they used to believe in back in the day, and obviously a Christian person coming in and sort of like wanting them to believe in the Christianity stuff. And obviously at the same time, she's really just trying to talk about like protecting herself, protecting her unit, I'd say. And at the same time, it's like the whole Christian side is like she just wants to be away from everybody to protect herself. So yeah, it's I believe she probably had to do a lot of the stuff on her own.
100%.
Because there are a lot of people that don't believe in what she does. And obviously her partner, he obviously came, he was probably there, and I wouldn't be surprised if it was just them two.
I mean, it's very clear that she was definitely by herself because no one else had those same beliefs as her. And even like when we go into the Duke joint and it's now like we find out that there's vampires, she's the one that's like, okay, this is what we're gonna get: silver, we're gonna get wood, we're gonna collect all the garlic. She's the one that's doing this, and she's the backbone. She's really mothering and protecting everyone, right? And like when you do think about it, these are African descendants, so in Africa this is a lot of what you would have learnt, and she kept and held onto her roots so tightly and so strongly. Whereas what you're saying with like the juxtaposition of like Christianity, even if we look at the start of the movie, right at the beginning, the dad is saying to Sammy, let go of that guitar, let go of that guitar. The first thing they call Sammy is sinner. And it's like, why is he a sinner? Because he's holding on to the blues, which is considered like black music, African music. So that's a sin. So anything that's connected still to like Africa is considered bad or evil, but that's the thing that's protecting them in the first place, and that's the thing that has opened them to receiving their ancestors, which is, you know, Sammy's talent of music and singing is what opened the portal in the first place. Although yes, it also opened for negative energy, but that's what it is like in this world anyway. Like when you see people who are so gifted, there's always going to be the negative people that want to suck that out of them, like the vampire wanted to suck out, like, you know, white supremacists want to suck that shit out of us, like fucking KKK, that whole thing. Mad.
Do you remember the scene with the snake? For me, that was like, okay, I know that whatever they're going, what journey they're going to go on to now, there's going to be some kind of evilness that they're going to have to face. And the fact that they can actually protect themselves. Because if you think about it, who was the person who protected them?
Smoke.
Exactly. It was like, because he's protected.
Because he's protected from Annie, is what you're saying. Okay,
so there's that element as well, like, you
that's
know,
so true,
how it all pans out. And obviously it's twin brothers. One brother's protected, the other one's not.
So much so that Smoke is the one who protected Stack by killing their father. Remember, their father used to beat the shit out of them, and he killed his dad to protect his brother. And like that protection is so deep with that necklace that he had. Because when it comes to the end of the movie and he's sort of ready to go, he takes it off. And that's obviously when he gets shot. He's like, I'm ready to see my wife, well, not wife, but my partner, I guess, and my daughter. That's such a significant moment. I'd love to ask, what do you guys think that? Do you think their baby saved them, and why, if you do think it?
I do 100% feel that the baby saved them, and that's obviously the connection that they have, and it will always be there. And I actually feel that if the baby was alive, they would actually be together. But because of the baby, losing the baby, it's kind of drawn them apart. Them both dying, and the end of it is actually bringing them together as one, and it's something that they've always wanted forever. And that's something that I can share personally between me and my husband. Like, that's something that we always want. We want Dante here, and you know, we can't wait to transit into heaven and join him.
Well, you said you and Peter like are happy to transition. Actually, like with a lot of mums who lose their babies, the first thing you tend to think is like, I'm ready to go. Like, kill me now. Like, there's no reason for me 100%. To continue. And so, like, same here, right? Not that I would purposely I'm going to say unalive because that's how they say it online. So I want to unalive myself because I personally believe that I am here to continue Milo's story. So like I'm doing her legacy and that's what I'm here to do. But when it's my time to go, I will not be contesting that. So I think that their baby saved them because had it not been for Annie saying to Smoke after she was bitten, had she not said, make sure that you kill me before I turn into a vampire so that my soul doesn't get trapped, like he probably wouldn't have done that. And the only reason why she said that is because there's someone waiting for me on the other side. She was very specific. She said those exact words. And then what does Ryan Coogler do? He shows us the picture again. He shows us their baby's handprint. He shows us that moment. Because some people who are watching the movie might have forgotten. We definitely didn't. Yeah. And so she's asking, make sure you kill me so that I can meet my baby on the other side. And that is saving them. That is saving their soul. Like they're not going to be trapped. I know obviously the saving isn't being saved into continue to live, because when you're fighting vampires, you're definitely not going to live. I'm sorry. But save their soul. So they're continuing on in the spirit realm. So that was the best thing that she could have said. And had their baby not existed, she might not have said that. We don't know. I know that she's very empowered in her spirituality, so she knows where she stands. But when Remick comes in and he's telling everyone, oh, we're going to give you freedom, we're going to give you that, he might have found something that she would have very easily wanted, and she could have easily fallen into that temptation. But she was like, no, like, I know where I stand. I need to meet my daughter. So just make sure you end me. But there was something that happened in the movie that I'm not sure what it is. So like when Smoke killed her, Stack said, you ruined everything. Like, what is it? Was there something bigger that was meant to happen? I need to watch it again, because in the moment that he killed her, sort of all the other vampires disappear. Yeah. They all sort of disappear. So what is it? Like,
because she was a protection person, I guess she must have been the last person that in that area or village or wherever it is, that was a hoodoo person.
Yeah.
Who could protect everybody.
Okay.
So it might be that. It might be, oh my god, she's like,
we need her.
She's gone. Who's going to do that next? Who's going to be there?
Okay. So as in the vampires would have wanted that gift, is that what you're saying?
Yeah, I guess. I mean, I think it might have been the vampires are just like, I need to watch that again. I need to go back. I'm thinking, if she's gone, generally, who would actually continue doing that hoodoo work?
Yeah.
Like who physically would be doing that?
Yeah. Exactly.
If it was to happen again. And I saw a message today on Facebook, and I saw that they're looking at doing a part 2.
I think
I thought it looked like a part 2 though, the way
Ryan
it ended.
He wasn't going to do a sequel.
Then someone else is going to take that and do it, because
I don't know what will happen next
really?
in the next one.
That's quite interesting. It'll be good.
It might be based on the cousin.
Yeah.
Because he's still alive.
Yeah.
And whatever happens, it might be somebody else that he gets involved with.
But they're saying that Smoke didn't transition though, fully. Like he was, apparently it's called an ancestor walk. Like he was transitioning, but he didn't transition. So maybe he might be in the sequel. I don't know, that's what they're saying. From the reviews I've seen.
Interesting.
That's
like when he didn't transition fully, but I think the Queen Poet explained it. She was like, it's something about the ancestor walk when you're trying to transition, but he didn't fully. So I think there might be another story. I don't know. But Ryan's saying no, so I don't know.
Well, you never know, he might change his mind. The ending, I guess, as well, where we do see, Annie nursing their baby. Oh my god, the way I cried, because I was like, rah, that's beautiful. No, I don't even think Ryan realises how deep what he did was.
How deep he went in that.
Like, I really want to connect with this man he needs to understand, and especially like when we think about it, like, in our community, like, black women experience baby loss a lot. Here in the UK, in the US, like, so many people are going to resonate with that scene. They're going to feel seen. And especially the people who, like us, do have an altar where we honor our children, and we're seeing that visually shown, where, you know, people who believe that we are going to connect with them after. We're not crazy for having stuff in our home that represents our babies, like, yeah.
But I think what I saw in Annie was that she was not, I'm not saying that we're doing this, but I'm saying she just was like, one of the interviews that I saw, Wumi basically said at the end that one thing that she could relate to Annie on was that they were both mothers. And that for me really got me, because she didn't say, oh, but Annie lost a child, or but Annie is a bereaved mother. No, she just said we're both mothers, simple, full stop. And I think to me that's such a key thing, because Annie was just mothering her child, nurturing her child, tending to her child, just the way Smoke was obviously being a father as well. But it's not something that she had to do, or it was like performance, she was just being. And I think one thing it got me thinking, like when I saw the handprint and the milk for their daughter, I think a lot of times now in society we put labels on these things, or we put them in boxes or tick boxes, like, oh, memory making, oh, this, that. I know they're important to some people, but it's just, for example, like staying in the hospital and staying with your child after you've lost your child, it's just being with your child, spending time with your child. It's not, oh, to say goodbye or memory making. I just feel like there's just so much, what do you call it, the word? There's just so much, it's just shifted. Do you know what it is? She didn't, when she said they're both mothers, she didn't put like, reduce it just to grief. Do you see what I'm saying? Like grief is a part of our motherhood, but it's not all of it. Do you see what I mean? Like the way you're creating Myla's legacy and you're creating awareness, you're creating change, you're not putting this on. It's not something that, like, you're just being with you're parenting with you're parenting your child, you're mothering her even now, you're nurturing her spirit, her life, you know, like. But I just feel like that part when she said that they're both mothers, I'm about to get emotional, that was deep. Because I feel like a lot of time there's a lot of separation, or lost mums, or this, because I saw a post said something about new mums and lost mums. Well, a lot of us were actually new mums too.
Anyway,
we forget that, and so we're gonna feel the exact same way as the new mums that have living babes. And then when I read a Substack note about Smoke having to kill Annie. For me, I know, and obviously I think in the note it was basically saying that, see, a lot of black women are doing this in real life. We're being our end all and be all for black men, blah blah blah. But I think he also gave everything to her too. And if we look at it deeply, he did as well, because he didn't want to. Why would he want to kill his lover, the mother of his child? He didn't want to do that. I don't think. It's like grief on top of grief, But I think he honoured her bond, it wasn't just a promise, like her agreement. He honoured her, and he really respected her. And I think, of course, the baby is a massive part of them. It's literally just the way someone's living child is everything to them, is the same thing. That's the same thing I see with them. The way there was no fear there. It was just like she knew, like she has a why, she has a big reason. Like her daughter's, like, it's deeper than just killing her. Yeah. It's deeper than that. It's not just. And one thing I need to mention as well is that something that I saw, it was just, I don't know if they had other children. I don't know if they had other children or if they couldn't or anything like that. But I think to me, it actually touched me that it was just Smoke, Annie and their daughter. Most times, it's always, pregnancy after loss. But for me, looking at all three of them, someone in society now will look at them as incomplete, but they're not. They're whole. To me, they're whole. They're complete. So that, to me, just really, really touched me. It was really sacred to me, so seeing that. But
I agree, because they seemed very grounded in the fact that it's the three of them. They didn't give me the vibe that they were incomplete in any way. And I don't understand that Substack note though, because I feel like the way that they took that is like, oh, she gave her all to die under the hands of a black man. Is that?
Yeah, that's basically.
I don't agree with that, especially because she's going for her kid, and that person probably doesn't realize that.
Yeah.
Because she chose to die for her, to meet her. She fully said that.
So, but the way that person wrote that Substack note, but don't you think the way they're looking at it is how society is looking at?
Yeah. Because no one is people are not seeing how deep it is of their baby. Like,
I just want to mention one thing. It just shows like this relates to him like honouring her request and her like their agreement, but the way they, of course Annie loved him deeply. We can go into that side, but the way Smoke loved Annie, he didn't believe in her practices, he didn't understand it, he probably challenged her and all these things. But one thing I need to say, he didn't diminish it, he didn't disrespect it, and I keep saying this, he loved her in her truest form, not in the form that he wants her to be in. That's deep. Like, I've not. Oof.
Yeah.
Deep. So I think it just meshes well with when she said, "You need to do this." Like, I have someone waiting for me on the other side, and you too as well.
Exactly.
Like,
yeah.
And that's why it's so needed. Like, we do have obviously these spiritual practices in Africa and stuff like that. Like, you can just see that there is a need for these Hindu priests and stuff like to be there, because obviously you're faced with evil, good and evil every day, and you're just having to challenge everything. So for me, I just love the fact that even though at the time he wasn't actually believing in what she was doing, but then when it all happened, that's when he was like, oh my God, she's actually protecting everybody. So, you know, those are things, like, if it wasn't for her, it would have been out of control. But she just knew what to do. And whether that was passed down through legacy, I mean, I'm thinking she might have passed down her gift to someone there that we don't know. And it might be in the second sequel. That one of them might become a hoodoo lady or man or something in the next film. But a lot of these people, they actually pass on their spiritual sides. And, you know, it's so important that we have these, like, you know, we represent our history. And a lot more people now are actually going back into their spiritual practices, which I believe is actually really good. Because it's so needed. And, you know, my family, your family, you know, we've got Africa, my family are from South America, and, you know, they were originally into, like, spiritual practices in what they believed in, whether it was the rainforest, whether it was the sand, the earth, the air, whatever it was. And a lot of these missionaries that came over to our countries actually introduced the religions like Christianity and stuff like that, which kind of took away the spiritual side of stuff. What I find is, since this film has come out, everybody's like, some people are scared to go watch it because they feel it's scary. And it's like, it's not scary. I feel like every single person needs to watch it. And I'm going to say every single black person needs to watch it. Because you know, even though you believe in a religion as Christianity, there is elements to it where you have to, like, look at what your ancestors used to believe in and really understand what they believed in and what protected them as well. So yeah, that's me going into the spiritual side.
I think with the spiritual side in Annie, I think she was really in tune with herself. Like, because a lot of, before religion came in and the Bible came in and all that stuff there, I think someone reviewed it and it really made, they posed this question that, like, who are we? What is our identity? Like, what are our roots? Like, all of these things that we have, like the secret, whatever, like, these are just, we have a lot within us. We just have to tap into it. And I think that's what I've seen in Annie and the spiritual side as well. Like, we have a lot of all these things. And I think religion has obviously taken that kind of away from us. When spirituality basically, like, for example, you know, at the train station when Stack basically sees, what's her name? Mary?
Yeah.
a lady pointed out on YouTube, she was like, his intuition was telling him not to, not to go there, not thingy, like, so it's like a lot of things in sin has made me realise that a lot of the things that we actually need or need to guide us and like need to follow is actually already within us, and that's how things were back in the day with spirituality.
I mean, it comes down to the slave trade. Yeah, that's how it started, didn't it? Missionaries went to Africa and they sort of like, oh, nice to have remember what you said? Fellowship and love. Fellowship and love. And then, you're dangling this, whatever you guys believe in is barbaric. This is what's the right thing to believe in. And then you sort of go into this, and then you're feeding as well some of the lines in the Bible, that things that say like, slaves, obey your earthly master, as paraphrasing, as if you're obeying the Lord, essentially. So obviously, who wants to disrespect the Lord if he's being imposed on you as something to fear? You are going to follow what you're being told, and you're going to obey your earthly masters. And then once you're taken into the different countries, so like from Nigeria, let's say, or from Congo, let's say, Angola, you're now taken into America, or you're taken into Brazil. Brazil and America have a very similar history, because they both were had loads of plantations, and they were imposed on really heavily with religion. And one of the things that in Brazil they held on to very tightly was their African roots and the spirituality. That's why they have candomblé, for example. But obviously that was considered a evil spiritual religion, and what they believe is that deities, African deities, so you've got like Shango or Shala, Imanja, all these amazing gods that represent different parts of nature and protection and all this kind of stuff. But they had to hide this within Catholicism, right? So they would have like a god that they believed in, but they would put it behind a saint. So they'll have the saint here, but meanwhile they're actually praying for this god. And all of this was just considered evil. Like even capoeira is considered evil, hoodoo is considered evil. But you're just believing in what you used to believe in when you were back at home. Why is that evil? It's like the blues is considered evil because it's black. That's all it is. Like, it's quite scary that our origins are reduced to being evil, and nowadays in modern society, even by us, we're still saying that it's evil. Like, we're still perpetuating what was enforced into us to think that it's bad, just to be a bit spiritual, just to still honor your ancestors. Like, what's so bad about that? What's so bad about speaking about your loved ones who have passed? Isn't that still your family? Why do you have to negate them just because they're not here? Like, it doesn't really... It's very confusing why we're so afraid of dying, afraid of speaking about those who are gone. What's that poem? Like, I forgot the name of the guy, but he says, dying, the person, that relationship still continues. They're only in the next room.
It's like voodoo. Like, people will think, oh, voodoo is evil, it's black magic and stuff. Voodoo was a religion. It was a spiritual religion. But it's like people made it sound as if it's evil, and it's not. A lot of these religions that are spiritual from Africa, they're actually... It's like people have this assumption that all of them, everything is evil. And it's just not. And that this is where we have to educate people to understand that it's not an evil religion. It's actually a peaceful religion, and what our ancestors used to believe in. They believed in it, so and it helped them, it protected them. Why can't we look into that religion that they believed in? Why do we feel like we're brainwashed into some of the missionary religions that came into our countries? We need to just... And a lot of people now, and I don't know about you, are actually tapping into those spiritual religions and stuff like that, like Orisha and stuff like that. I've certainly looked into it as well, and there's so many different gods that they have that represent everything, the air, the moon. Look at the Kemet side, like going back into Africa, like going back, way back into Egypt, like Tutankhamun, all them, like, Nefertiti, all of them, like, they all represent the sun, the moon, the water. You know, they were the first religions.
Yeah. And here's the thing, like, to just degrade something as purely evil is so bad, because there's evil in everything. Anybody can be evil. Like, you could be evil and be a Catholic, you could be evil and be a Christian. Like, there's evil.
100%.
Evil can live in any place.
Yeah.
So how can you just say that, oh, this whole thing is evil, just because you don't understand it, just because you don't believe in it, just because you're afraid of it? Like, that's such an awful thing to do.
But I think there's a reason.
No,
do you know what I mean?
100.
And I think it's like, we need to think, like, who told us that it was evil? Who told us a witch is a witch? Like, we need to think about these things, like, who is telling us these things?
It's that controlling element.
Yeah.
It's them controlling us.
Because if you know your power and you're sitting well in your power, that is scary for them.
Yeah.
That is very terrifying. No black person should be sitting well in their power.
Yeah.
That's not okay.
I hope I didn't say anything offensive. Sometimes I just go in, yeah.
When they were having sex,
Yeah.
and she was like, do you want me to spit in your mouth or something?
Yeah.
That is, you see that whole scene there? That's too deep. Did that fly over our heads? Like, exchanging of energies, spirit, DNA, all that. It's very deep.
Because it was her who went out and started talking to these
Yeah.
people. She brought them in.
Yes.
Yeah.
And the reason why she went is because obviously she's passing white, so for them it's like, that's family, innit? But that was the whole thing where it all began.
It was her.
Crazy.
She started it.
Crazy.
But I think she had a way with her words as well. Like, she wasn't like only passing with colour, like she was also passing like her words, really got her in that juke joint. Like, she's good at what she does, I can't lie.
I mean, to be fair, she did grow up with them, didn't she? So for them, it's like, it is family at the end of the day. You did grow up with her. Her mum took care of them, nursed them, because their mum died at birth. Imagine. Another thing, right? Another thing that happens to women giving birth, you know, especially black women. Either our children are, you know, dying, or we are dying whilst we're giving birth. And that was highlighted in the movie. That movie is deep, boy. But thank you so much for sitting with us. I hope you guys enjoyed watching and got a different take on the movie, particularly on the sides that isn't being spoken about, that should be spoken about. Like, yeah.
Definitely. I think we should do a part 2 and watch it again.
Yeah, I think we should.